Hi everyone, I'm Archeia Rose.
Hello, darlings. I'm Archeia Passion.
And this evening we are going to discuss cognitive is it dissonance?
Dissonance. Yeah. And we are the 5djourney.org team. Just in case you're listening to this on through any other pathway, and you're wondering who we are, like we've
Who the
had
hell are
before.
these women?
Yeah. Who are these chicks? So we thought it would be a really good idea to talk about basically what happens to some people when they are told something that goes against their existing beliefs, values, expectations, understandings. So, this is going to be seen an awful lot in the next few years when people are waking up. They will either be woken up kind of by accident. We know there's no such thing as accidents, but to them it will be an accident. They came across some information, somebody's blurted something out, they've read something, they've seen something, they've heard something in the background and kind of gone, what? And investigated it and found something that really shocks them. But the element, I think, of shock is really an important one to speak about. And shock is one of the parent negative emotions. So we have anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. And when I was learning, that was it. But I've added shock because, in my experience, shock is the one that does the most amount of damage for the longest amount of time and causes the most amount of trauma in the body.
Bit like PTSD, isn't it? Like so much um, physical stuff happens from shock, right?
Yeah, I mean, the body will literally manifest anything from these negative emotions, and this subject will overlap with a few other things that we will talk about again in on other podcasts and live streams upcoming very soon. But the negative emotions, the theory is that all negative emotions are going to fall into a parent emotion. And just like I reeled them off, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shock. And if you can get rid of those, you get rid of all the others. Shock is a nasty one because it happens really quickly. It bites you hard and it lingers and it stays basically because the mind is trying to make sense of what it's just learned. And it is trying its hardest and cannot fathom why this has happened, how it's happened, and all the rest of it.
Shall we do you want to read a kind of summary of what cognitive dissonance
Yeah,
is?
good idea.
So
Yeah, we
we're
just had a little
clear.
look.
Because it is very much in the spiritual community, it's very much a common term. But I think if you kind of woken up and someone says that, it's just a bit of a, huh, what does that mean, you know?
I'm going to go straight to the paradigm bit actually because this is really good. I'm just kind of so basically, cognitive dissonance is when the person has learnt some information and encounters psychological stress when the information they've learnt goes against their existing comfort, comfortable beliefs, feelings, ideas, values, and actions and understandings of the environment. And it says here, according to the theory, when two actions or ideas are not psychologically consistent with each other, people do everything in their power to change them until they do become consistent. The discomfort is triggered by the person's belief clashing with this new information perceived, and the individual tries to find a way to resolve the contradiction to reduce their discomfort. And then if you go down to the paradigms section, there are four theoretic paradigms of cognitive dissonance: the mental stress people suffer when exposed to information that is inconsistent with their beliefs, ideals, or values. They are belief disconfirmation, induced compliance, free choice, and effort jurisdiction, justification even, which respectively explain what happens after a person acts inconsistently relative to their intellectual perspectives. what happens after a person makes decisions, and what are the effects upon a person who has expended much effort to achieve a goal. Common to each paradigm of cognitive dissonance theory is the tenet: people invested in a given perspective shall, when confronted with contrary evidence, expend great effort to justify retaining their original or the challenged perspective. So that's
So
the kind of
basically, it's
official.
feeling into it. It's a lot to do with the ego, and then
Hmm.
also the ego loves belief systems. It loves having these like set rules, set ideas, and
Comfort.
for anything to come along and be like, no, well, everything you thought was wrong, this is actually right, blah blah blah. That sets the ego on fire, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. I want to explain to people listening the ego that I knew up until a few months ago was the big headed, vain, I'm the nuts, I'm better than everyone else. That's what I used to recognize ego as. And when I found sort of my soul family, ego ego dismantling was a really big focus. And for me, I used to kind of think, well, hang on a minute, the ego can really serve a role in helping you consciously, spiritually grow. Excuse me. And for me,
Yeah, that throat chakra.
I know, man, this thing's taking ages to get rid of.
Where's
It's
humanity
there
there?
is I want to kind of go back to God doesn't make mistakes. God does not screw things up. This is all part of the perfect plan. The human design is perfect. We are in its design flawless, amazing. Even when you think of people born with disfigurements, with disabilities, diseases, when we are born into a system, into a vessel that is malfunctioning, to give it a very horrible, cold word, the purpose is to grow as a soul in life experience. You can't grow if you're only getting the good stuff all the time. You have to grow, and there's this amazing video, I'm going to post it. The guy's a little, it's an Australian guy, I believe. And the caption on his video, sort of a long time ago now, but I think it's been viral and it's been around the world several times, is no arms, no legs, no worries. And he basically has, yeah, no, he has a torso, and what is kind of like a small child's foot stuck to where his legs would start to be.
Right.
And another thing, which is almost like more of a stump, is ridiculous. He calls it his little chicken drumstick. And this guy on his videos, he's actually a motivational speaker, and he goes into like high schools in Australia, and he basically, oh, he makes you cry. He's so good. And he basically goes around saying, you girls, you're beautiful. Stop comparing yourself to the skinny models. That's not real. It's not nice. The boys don't like that anyway. And
Yeah.
the girls are just crying their eyes out. And the boys, and he's going, listen, you guys, it's cool. You're cool. You're good. He goes, you're the man. And he builds up the confidence in people. And the video, he dives off diving boards and goes swimming. He's playing football, and he's like in goal, and somebody kicks a football to like take a penalty, and it just goes past him. He goes, "I wasn't ready." He can't even run. I mean, he kind of hops. It's incredible. So, sorry, went a little bit of a
I
sidestep there.
you want to go back to the ego quickly and just
Yeah,
identify that isn't we've touched on how the ego, particularly for the tools we use as our signpost to the 5D. So
yeah.
3D is very much ego, which I feel stands for edging God out. Sorry to be
It
mean.
is in a way, yeah, because it's all about the self. It's not
I,
about the
yeah,
unity.
exactly. So you're in the mind, 3D is in the mind, ego's
You're
needed
fearful.
get survival, whereas 5D, it's in the heart. But to get there, we need the ego, don't we, to show us,
We
to
do.
heal, to signpost.
We
So,
Again, like I mentioned in our live stream last night, this is about becoming consciously developed, by saying, I used to be really afraid of this and that and the other because I thought X, Y, and Z. But actually, then I learnt this material and I applied it to my situation, and I realised if I just scratched the surface a bit, that actually these amazing gifts and golden opportunities were there all the time. I just did not see it that way because I wasn't raised to see it that way. We don't get taught how to see things that way, or we
Yeah.
haven't up till now. We hope to change that. So your ego is your animalistic self-preservation tool. It's the one that says, be careful, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get attacked, you don't want to be vulnerable, you don't want to be left without, you don't want to be at a loss, all of those sorts of things.
Or remember that time we did that and then that happened and it was really horrible and painful. So we can never do that again, I'm
Yeah,
protecting you, so don't do
yeah,
that.
absolutely. So this is really what's happening when people wake up accidentally or unexpectedly, shall we say, without their own mind probing a thought. Like my personal waking up was, why does social media, who are in the business of being speaking platforms for people, censor people? They're not politicians, they're not, justice system. Why are they doing that? That was my personal query, and it let me wake up very gently, as it were. But when people are confronted with a situation, scenario, opinion, and it's kind of almost a forced wake up, I mean, the ego goes into really extreme behaviours. I had this very personal situation in this matter this week, and the behaviour from this individual really shocked me because it was, I wouldn't say vicious attack, but for him it was. He's usually just such a gent and just the epitome of intelligence and good manners, and he let rip. He absolutely he was insulting. And what was interesting afterwards, I said to my husband, it's funny how he didn't kind of go, no, no, I can't believe it. Well, how do you know that? What's the evidence that you have? There was no entertaining of, let's see why she thinks this. Let's see,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, could this have any legs? Because we've been friends for a long time. He's known my husband since, for like 28 years. Um, he knows us well enough to know that we're not crazy or weird or anything like that. Um, so I'm kind of surprised that his initial reaction wasn't really. Why do you even if you thought it was complete BS, you would do someone the common courtesy of going, "Oh, why do you say that then? What have you got? That's a pretty bold claim. What have you got to back that up?"
What I feel with that though, people have put so much trust in the powers that be. They believe that these people have their best intentions at heart. So the people, that they pay their taxes to, they watch on the programming. How could these people be, and it's such a good play, isn't it? They put on such a good front.
Oh, they've
Boris
done
does
brilliant.
such a good like PR stunt in a hospital, chatting about God knows what. That's why it is such a shock because how could it be such a lie when it's such they do get away with it. It
And
isn't
it's
it's not obvious unless you start searching, unless you go down the rabbit
yeah.
holes.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that's now becoming, I think it's becoming more and more obvious, is because you think the technology we have, the amount of money we're looking, going to Mars and things like that, yet we can't cure cancer.
I
Yet we are
know.
not making, and I'm gonna sort of big up the Awakened Species channel on Telegram, and the guy Nico's behind that and who posts, and I love that channel. And he shows you the most amazing architecture and it proves that it was actually often built 100 or 400 years before people say it was. And then he's like, power tools were only invented in, I don't know, let's say 100 years ago,
Yeah.
or whenever electricity was. Do not quote me on the history and times and things, but let's say it's 100 years ago. Yet these buildings and the pyramids, the way they were built, I remember my dad questioning this when he was alive, and he's been gone 16 years. So it's you just need to start scratching the surface, consciously kind of going, yeah, that doesn't, that's a bit weird.
I
That's what it
feel
really
it's
takes,
like
isn't it?
that, but we're it's like the MK Ultra, it's the programming on the collective to have the laziness to not think outside the box. So I saw a meme that said that the like Shell and all those companies, they're making incredible profits this year. And what are they
20
doing to
million, I think.
us? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
making our bills more. How is that okay? And why is that not on the news? It's all
Have
about
you
how
heard?
we can't afford, see, we're going off subject now. We're both getting passionate.
Well, not really. It's part of waking up. So,
Um,
I've just heard today that Johnson and Johnson are desperately trying to contain the fact that they are being prosecuted, accused, sued, whatever it is, by 38,000 families who
oh,
have claimed their children, their babies, have got cancer from Johnson's
oh
talcum
my God,
powder,
that's so awful.
and they have planned to set up a subsidiary to take over the talcum powder aspect of their business,
Cover
and
up.
then go bust, so they wouldn't have to pay out for
Oh,
any compensation or anything like that. I mean, if that is not scumbag, they all need to be
and then
literally turned to
also,
dust, these companies.
it's also like so Prince, we all know Prince Andrew's just got away with being a paedophile and he's just paid his way out. Yeah, as if the normal person, me or you, were to get a speeding fine, getting a park, we wouldn't get away with it, would we? We
Yeah.
wouldn't get, we would get chased. We would get, it's not so not right. And I just want to say two more things. I just want to touch on them that so the crazier you sound, the closer you are to the truth.
Say
So
that
when
again, sorry.
so the crazier you sound to them,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
so if they say to you, you're
Mhm.
fucking mental, that means you are on the right track.
Because do you know
Uh,
what's so funny? That saying that, my friend who visited, who I was talking about recently, he said, "Next, you'll be saying that Trump was telling the truth." And me and my husband just looked at each other and I was like, "I think we'll end it there. Let's just
for
change the
sure.
subject."
Um,
And I basically said to him, I thought it was quite a clever thing to do. And I said, "Look, I will look forward to the day if I can turn around to you and say, I was wrong, I got it wrong. That will be the quickest apology and the quickest owning up of being wrong that I will ever do in my life. And I will pray that that day happens."
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to touch on what we chatted about yesterday on the live, how I think it's really clever that you've identified this, that there's two awakenings. There's a social awakening and there's a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you obviously wake up
So,
that this is an
the,
illusion, but then you wake up to how corrupt the system is, right?
yeah, the first awakening is the social awakening, is realizing that the powers that be have literally want to wipe us out. And I coined the phrase, if I could even say that, they want to keep us dumb and in debt. That's the
Yeah.
summary I made the other day. They want to keep us dumb and in debt in every way, shape, and form. And now they're getting desperate. I mean, this changing the highway code to have you give way to pedestrians no matter where they are on the road or the crossroads or whatever, the junctions. And somebody basically laid out all the options. And I was like, straight away, I knew that this was just distraction tactics,
It's more confusion, isn't
confusion,
it? Yeah.
and imagine the amount of accidents that would be caused, and insurance will go through the roof, premiums will go through the roof. They're attacking us every way they can think of, and I feel sorry for these people. I really do. They are soulless. They are. I just wow. But yeah,
The money part is really bad at the moment. How they are, the bills, the food. It's just
fuel.
not. It's so cruel. It's not like
They're really getting the thumb screws on, aren't they?
yeah, and it's just, and there's reasons and excuses, but actually no, because the large companies are still making money. And at the end of the day, the small people still suffer. And that is why that I thought about it the other day, and that is what I want to change. Why should we, the good people, be struggling so much? it's not fair, is it? It's not a system that helps everyone.
No. But then this is what leads to the second awakening is that this isn't real. This life we live in, this matrix,
Yeah, it's
this
all a game, so I shouldn't get so angry.
it's it's the realest computer game you will ever, this is was it VR, virtual reality without the goggles. The
Yeah.
goggles are inside your brain. Um
So
and this
that's why
yeah,
they obviously talk about the Matrix. And when you wake up, you start seeing angel numbers, and what the
yeah.
Matrix is made up of numbers, isn't it? So it's really quite cool that.
Well, I don't know. See, you and I woke up very spiritually. We woke up with a very spiritual
Yeah.
um, safety net.
Yeah, I did.
And
So mainly people wake up through pain and suffering from questioning the system, from the loss of people, from, endless like destruction happening. But I woke up in the most beautiful way ever. I'm very grateful.
mm,
It's the only part of my path which has been beautiful. So
so yeah, the cognitive dissonance is the ego basically desperately attacking the new sorry the new information that's coming in that is so shocking to the existing beliefs that it's sending the ego into a panic, really, I think is the, very grassroots way of saying it.
I
So
feel
please don't go
want to
on.
touch on a lot of the time when the ego attacks because of this is because people aren't consciously aligned. So a lot of the spiritual stuff you and I discuss, people will just look at us like we're bonkers, but it's not because they just can't meet us on that level. They're not there yet. They're not evolved. So part of the ego attacking is because you can't understand it. So you
That's right,
take
yeah.
that out, don't
And
you?
you can't solve the problem. I think that is actually almost more relevant. It's that the ego has perceived what's going on because that's what its job is to do. It's ultra perceptive. It's paranoid. Yeah, the ego is akin to. I was taught a 6-year-old child. It's aware enough to be like, I want the toy. My 5-year-old at the moment is. She's like, I want the toy. I want to go first. It's mine. I want to win. And it's like, oh. And she's now starting to sort of rub off on the 2.5-year-old. And I'm thinking, oh,
Oh
I
no,
really.
bless you, because he's so sweet. I bet you're like, no.
He's now, no, me, mine. I'm first. I'm like, oh no, please.
Funny
But
that it's funny that the ego like kicks in at a certain. It's like a survival
six,
thing, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just survival mode. It's I want. I don't want to hurt. It's whinging. It's poor me. It's when your victim sort of consciousness kicks in and things like that. So that is your ego. It's basically looking after you. It's trying to look after you, but it is very unevolved. It's your animalistic side. Now, I say that with all respect to animals. I actually think animals are angels. They're beautiful at a way of looking at how you can live in harmony with your environment and each other, and you only
Yeah.
take what you
Well,
need, apart from, I don't know, foxes
great.
and things that you get some weird.
Dogs are a great example of unconditional love, how they love their
Yeah,
own. We can learn so much from our animals.
yeah, yeah. So your ego is your animalistic side. It's the seesaw to the spiritual, the soul, the spiritual side, the pure love energy. And the balance in the middle is your conscious awareness of the situation, the truth, the reality, the delusion, the matrix, the virtual reality, the best virtual reality program you'll ever be in. And knowing that when situations happen to you, you can go, oh, this is a nice gift to myself from another time, which is all going on at once. We'll get into that another time. That's another good topic to talk about, time dimensions and parallel timelines and all things like that, I
Yeah,
think.
I like that one.
And then your mind is figuring it out. You can't say you've graduated unless you've turned up, done all your lessons, done your homework, taken the exam and passed. That's the same thing. Your conscious mind is going, I know what strategies I used to run when this happens. I don't want to be like that. I want to be like this. So I'm going to consciously make an effort to break through. It's a little bit like Nancy, who's been contributing to our health section, which is yet to go live, she basically drew a comparison to a seedling growing into a flower or a tree or whatever it was going to be, to the spiritual journey. And it was such a beautiful comparison. And, you know, it's that seedling fighting through for light, breaking through the soil to, you know, get to the sunshine and the light. And it
Um,
really is like that, you know. I think it's really like that anyway. So
yeah, definitely. That's why everything's planted in the dark to search for the light. Absolutely. It's 100%.
and you can only know the light because you come from the dark.
Exactly. So I just quickly want to touch on something. So we are all, bless our amazing brother Archangel David. We're also desperate to wake up, our brothers and sisters, because we want to move this along. And it's not easy, and it's really great to say, if you're with someone, you feel that maybe you can put the feelers out and you can drop a few nuggets. Just ask your angels, say, I am a vessel of pure love. What will activate this person's DNA? Let me
Mm.
say it. And the angels will, they will provide the nugget that that person needs to hear in that moment. So that won't trigger them, it won't send them off, they won't call you crazy. It'll just spark something. I've seen it so many times
I'm
with
going to
people I
use that.
love.
I've got a 50th birthday to go to next month, and
Yeah.
I'm going to know a couple of people there, and I'm thinking already, I'm doing the ego thing, which is, oh my God, how am I going to like speak to all these people all night? And they'll be going on about, oh, have you been, oh yeah, I'm double vaxxed, and I've got my mask, and I've got this, and I'm going to be like in my awakened hell. Do you know what I mean? Being in the room
Oh, it's
trying to make
mastery,
chit
love.
chat with people without kind of, and I'm going to use that one. I'm definitely going to use that tactic on that
Yeah.
without. I don't want to be chucked out of the party, but
No, I was just, I've thought of something to say, but I've forgotten. But yeah, it's just being gently, I think, with our brothers and sisters, and they want to know. And I often say things, but I'll do it in a manner where I'm really open and I laugh when I say it. And it's almost like it is truth, so they can't unlearn it. But it's like in a way of like, it's so friendly in this world. Like, do you want to know more? Like, I'll laugh and talk about manifesting, and it's just, it just show. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to push it on you, but there's more to know, and it's amazing. So come and join me. It's my little skill. That's what I do.
that's really good, really, really good. And it's nice because you will capture the people who are aligned already and are aligned and inclined, and who might be very close to waking up anyway and are just needing the the mentor to turn up, which is you. So
Yeah.
that's really, really good.
Sometimes
I keep
even
getting
if you
pinged.
drop
Sorry,
into
love.
the conversation, even if you're like, oh yeah, the powers that be the elites, the cabal, or whatever you want to call them, that people don't forget these things when you say it. You're not telling them that these people are ruling, whatever, but you're just, it's an option, and it's kind of talked about, so they don't forget it. So there are strategic ways to do this. What were you going to say?
I keep getting pinged to
Pull a
look at
card.
the people who,
I'm going to pull an
you know,
angel card.
you know how we say like everything's a flip, right? Uh, and the flip is if people sort of say to you, well, how do you know this thing? How do you know to trust so and so? And is Trump good? And all the rest of it. And we say something like, well, I've read his energy, I've pulled cards, I've used the pendulum, and that I actually have a brilliant story about this. When Trump was having his second term elections going through, and it was still kind of like we didn't know who was going to win. We were hoping it was going to be Trump, and then we didn't know. So I like to play a little game. I did it with Brexit, and I was right. So I muscle tested what was going to happen, and I was spot on with Brexit. And with Trump, I said, will Trump win the election? And I got yes. And I was still very new at my sort of pendulum swinging. So I asked it again in a different way. And I said, will Trump... no, I had two people on my drawing. I had Trump and Biden on my different directions. And I swung the pendulum. And I said, who's going to be the next president of the United States? And it went Biden. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I just literally put it down to me not being able to do the pendulum very well and still being quite new at it. And I was like, who won the election though? And it kept saying Trump. But the next
Oh,
president of the
that's
United States will be
amazing.
Biden. That is honest truth. God's honest truth. Hand
And
on my heart.
see, the angels don't lie to us. So before, um, oh, hold on, I'm gonna jump on that story. It's not for now.
Okay, right. So then
Anyway,
I'll finish.
okay,
Let's
go
see.
on.
Yeah,
And then
so
I pulled an angel card, and it's so synchronistic, and I'll send
it's
it.
21, 22.
Go on, you tell us the story, and then I'll read the angel card, and we'll wrap
Yeah, I
up.
just thought I kind of was just feeling, feeling sorry really for the people who are going to have a bit of a harsh awakening and the shock they're going to have, and especially if they consider themselves to be like academics,
Yeah.
scientists who are kind of
Science
pretty much,
is not God, people. Science is not God.
yeah, who are pretty much the polar opposite to the spiritual set.
Yeah.
And if you say, but actually, we are the ones who've got our finger on the pulse more than anyone. And actually, the military, I've got so many. I've been listening to some folk, and they've got very, very military backgrounds, and then they're chiming in the middle of or the end of their podcast. Guys, just remember, love is all there is. Keep your vibrations high. Keep meditating. And I was like, what? These are like the military dudes coming out. I loved it,
Those
and I
guys
was just
are
thinking,
awake. They're really awake in the military.
yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. It's a
Yeah.
forced awakening,
They
right?
were, yeah, and they were getting a lot of forced vaccines, and they were starting to be like,
Yeah.
this ain't right. And there are brothers that, like, they defend us, they support us, so they probably see a lot of the powers that be, all that crap that's going on.
Hmm. So yeah, I
Okay,
just thought it's going to be really hard for people waking up and realizing that it's the spiritual lot that actually the hippie bead wearing, DMT puffing, weed, you know, eating,
I
drinking, smoking
feel
crowd that are actually the most clued up at the moment.
but in today's society, I think that is a real cabal thing, the whole hippie, the whole new age, putting that on spirituality because I'm a bit of a hippie, but I'm not a fucking, I wash and stuff, and you do as well. So it's a real belief system that's been placed on. I know it's peace and love within that community, but anyway, I want to read this angel card quickly because it's really
Yeah.
specific. So I'm not sure how you say it. It's Salathiel, Sathiel, Sal.
Okay.
So
That dude.
guardian
Some of these
angel
names are a bit of a
of,
mouthful.
listen to this, guardian angel of seekers.
Oh,
The card
nice
of
one.
seeking and finding your heart of hearts. Sapphire counsels that it may take a little while to achieve your heart's desire, for there are layers to penetrate before you reach it. The veils around your heart are formed from strong emotions that have long filled your life. It's amazing. It's like the third dimension. You have been through many experiences creating mindsets within that are a form of programming belief systems. Though these,
Wow.
I know it's amazing. Though
What
these
deck is this?
it's called Heart and Soul Angel Cards. My first
No.
deck I ever was given, but I kind of really connected with them now. Hold on, I'll carry on.
I love
So
decks angel.
these sometimes gave great meaning and purpose to your life. If they are negative or superficial in any way, then it is time to let them go. For they can affect the rhythms and even the health of your heart. Working
Wow.
with Sathiel aids you to peel away veils of emotional patterns that you wish to shed, gradually allowing the deepest feelings of your real heart to emerge. One more
He's the
paragraph.
archangel of waking up, isn't he? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Sathiel draws attention to your inherent strength of character, for when you focus on pure positive emotions, there is no limit to what you can achieve. You can choose to let go of any fear-based feelings overlaying your heart and make your love your primary state of being, willing to be so. Your innermost heart will then become infinitely strong and beautiful in a spontaneous outpouring of love, compassion, joy, and self-appreciation. This heart of hearts will perceive and attain its true desire. How nice is that?
It's amazing. It's so accurate for what we've been doing
I
today. I
know.
mean,
I'll take a photo of the card and people can see it while they
yeah.
listen to the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Great idea, front and back.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we've covered enough for a gentle podcast on cognitive dissonance and what happens when people wake up in a bit of an unpleasant way. So, yeah, we hope this has
Also,
helped you.
just to touch on, there is talk of a lot of people waking up in the next couple of weeks because we're hitting this big portal and we've got Pisces season, which is all about spiritual awakening. So, watch this space.
Yeah, the moon's looking pretty special as well tonight. So, yeah, I've got all those
Wow.
energies. Oh, it's lovely. Right, people, thanks again. We love you loads. We'll see you on the
Love
next one.
you. Catch you on the flip side.
Bye.